Let's go ahead and start our analysis. Today is, of course, Thursday, September 30, which is the end of Q3. And of course, there's sellings across the board. We're just going to use Amazon to represent the high tech and the NASDAQ. As of course Amazon, the other the other high tech like Apple and Google, they all pretty much follow the same behavior of Amazon. But like I say, following the trend line of the 60 minutes really is what the technicals has been latching onto. And of course, on the intraday, the 15 minutes, you can see yesterday was Thursday. I had mentioned in my video that it was going to be a gap up and an initial push that will eventually fail. Oh, of course, I got tricked, but let's just not talk about that right now. What we want to know is where are we going from this point? And of course, you can say, well, we don't know. This is right at the 200-day moving average. And of course, it's also at the 38.2. On Wednesday, it tested the 38.2 and bounced. So on this bounce, let's just take a look at the 15. On this bounce right here, you can highlight it. It failed to touch the 15. That is very important. If it touched the 15, it would play around at the 15 and would either break higher or break lower. That's just the way it is. But because it did not touch the 15, guess what? It fell. Here's a lower high, lower high, lower low, lower high, and are we gonna get a lower low? Um, we can say that most likely that is the case because the market, for whatever reason, do not like to go sideways. The bias of neutral is the rarest of the two direction. It's either um, 40% up, 40% down, and 20% sideways. So that is why people think the market is manipulated. And of course, it is 100% manipulated. It will rarely does it go sideways. And I don't suspect this is gonna go sideways. I think Friday, most likely, the situation is easy to call, but you don't know which was going to happen. It's either going to gap up slightly, try some push, or hold flat, fail, and then somewhere maybe 11, 12 o'clock, you will have the bounce. Or it will gap up, try to fail, and get support, and then bounce up all the way to the 15. Those are the two scenarios. It is not going to oscillate around the 38.2. You say, well, the 38.2 is a key technical level. It aligns with the 200-day moving average, which is also a key technical level. But it will not do this moving around on it for whatever reason. I don't know. However, if it does touch the 15, it can play around at the 15 and then decide whether to fail or break out. I think the likelihood of it breaking out is much higher for whatever reason. When it does touch the 15 and it'll play around with it, they tend to overshoot. That's just the way it is. You see how it is? It plays around with the 15 and then it overshoot. So if it touched the 15, that will be a positive bias. As long as it doesn't touch the 15-minute trend line, it continues to be a negative bias until maybe a recovery. Now, if it's a negative bias and then it come back to the 38.2 and it then that would be a chance of it being neutral. At this point, it is not going to stay neutral here. It's either going to go up, go down, and then maybe on the retest of the 38.2 is when it will stay neutral. So what happened today? Um, Closed with a $1,200 gain. Opportunity loss was quite a bit, but I report an opportunity loss of 1,000. Uh, in actuality, if I was a better mindset, stronger mindset, more confident in holding a lot of these positions, I probably would have made an additional 2,000. So ideally, an opportunity loss of 2,000, but I wrote on only 1,000. Um, Gains on the last 2 days as well, but it is nothing of significant. My TD, my small trading account, has continued to be positive. Started out with 50,000, now at 60,000 and a little bit above. I don't make a lot of trades on here, but the performance on here is actually better as far as percent consistency, because I play a much safer strategy on this small trading account. That being said, what happened in detail the last 2 days? Well, for me, I got tricked on this, and the reason I got tricked, and I let me reveal my notes from yesterday, was for whatever reason I saw this 50% Fibonacci, and I had convinced myself that this was going to be the top. Again, the 5 minute is a trap, but the 50% Fibonacci is also a trap, especially when it hasn't reached the 15. And the 15, of course, for yesterday is at this level. The 15-minute trend line is stronger than the 50% Fibonacci. It is just the way it is. So I was playing with a weak hand, just like the 5 minute trend line is a weak hand. And I got tricked, and the stronger hand is here. Of course, it failed. So of course, it breaks up. So I had bought a put option, okay, and I held this put option all the way until I added another one up here. But you can see this put option was the 33. I think it was the 33.50. Now this is where I am very weak in my discipline, in my ability to hold position. Of course, I bought it at 40 on that initial smack down to the 50% Fibonacci, and I added one at about 32, I believe. Well, you can do the math. At that point, I was down 1,200, and easily, if this position were to continue to go up and test the 15, I would have been stopped out with probably a $2,500 loss. $2,500 loss on just being completely stupid, not having the patience, not reading the technical correctly, playing weak hands. Of course, uh, this hand right here, the second position that I added was the correct one. Now, had this one been the first position I added, and then it went up close to the 15 and failed, I probably would have added a second one, and maybe I had the confidence to hold all of this. Well, had I hold all my position, obviously that's a $2,000 gain on the 40 and the 32, more than $2,000. I wrote down the opportunity loss of 1,000, but really it's probably around $2,000 to $3,000 opportunity loss if I were to hail it all the way to this bottom point, which is where it started to see the signal of a reversal, right? This is a reversal candle. So I still have a lot of cleaning up to do as far as how I read the charts, how to hold position, and be confident to hold position. And I think the only way I can do this is to actually shut off the account window, because watching the account and the actual orders fluctuate in hundreds, if not thousand, is just setting my mind into the wrong idea. I'm not having that mental fortitude to hold. So that's the next level I'm trying to get to. But anyhow, I actually did hold that position far enough to make a gain for that day. Yesterday, I only made like 287, which is, fine with me, given the fact that at one point I was down 1200. And of course, I actually bought the call option at a certain point, which was very stupid as well. So somewhere on the way down, um, somewhere here on the way down, I had bought a call option. Right around here, I bought one call option and I added another call option right here. These two call options, at one point, I was down 1200. So I was down 1200 here on the way going this direction and 1200 on the opposite direction. Easily, I could have been stopped out of 2000 here, and had this gone any lower, another stop out of 2000. So that could have been a opportunity, a potential loss of 4,000 on just being stupid and not following what you know. So just need to fix these little bad habits that I continue to make, and hopefully, I mean, I did come out positive for the day, but that's why I didn't really get too mad on the opportunity loss or kick myself on the opportunity loss. I mean, when you are down 1200 and another 1200, you're not gonna worry that you potentially lost out the 2000 here. And of course, I lost the potential loss of another 1000 on the way up. But like I said on yesterday video on the close on Thursday, this was negative. This was no way negative. I said on Thursday, not Thursday, Wednesday, because Wednesday was reversal Wednesday. Okay, so it tried to do reversal Wednesday. This was the afternoon reversal Wednesday that I was talking about. Unfortunately, it went too far down. It went to 3,000, and it just didn't get enough mustard to get to the 50% retracement. And if you were to watch the actual, I forget, let's say maybe it was a 3400. If you actually watch the volume on this guy, it was not coming in. And I was like, oh man, this is not looking good. The volume yesterday was just not coming in across the board. Whereas Monday, and I do have the screenshot of the volume on Monday, it was a lot heavier. I mean, it was like on the highest strike points, it was 18,000, 20,000, 10,000, 5. It was across the board. This right here looks like strong volume, but the value is lower. I mean, you say, well, this is strong volume, but these value of 12 and 14 just not the same as if it was 20 or 30, because the actual value times the volume is what really determines the direction. So the smaller the value of the options, like these, this is 12,000, but it's only one and two, so it's really insignificant, right? If you think about it, this isn't value-wise a lot of strength. Whereas here you got the put option, which is in the 20s and 30s, and this is fairly strong. Now, it's not as strong as I thought it would be. Let's see if October 8th has some volume coming in, and not really, not yet, at least. But tomorrow, October 8th, which is the new quarter, I suppose. Tomorrow, I'm sorry, tomorrow is October 1st, which is the new quarter. We will start to see volume come in for October 8th for the anticipation of next week. So these volumes tomorrow is going to be important. It's going to be the 3300, and I probably want to see more if it's going to be a sell-off. And of course, I think some of these guys are going to be staggered across the board. If the volume starts to come in, and I'm going to watch this screen very carefully tomorrow, if it starts to come in, it means they're going to be a bounce. So, like I said, I think it will be a bounce, but my best scenario, the scenario that I am actually gonna wait for, is a gap up and a failure for, and then try to time the bounce. I will not be chasing any gap up and push higher. I will not. Trust me, I'm not going to make that same mistake like I did here, where I tried to actually, I try to time the bottom. So I will not be timing the bottom or chasing the top. I am gonna let it play out, have my patience, because that's one of my worst habits is not to have patience. Have the patience to wait and see if it touches the 15 and see if, once you see these formation after coming in, I mean, you say, well, this is 30, uh, 30 minutes, an hour, waiting an hour and 15 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes seems forever in the morning, but you're just going to have that discipline to wait because honestly, chasing going up potentially at any time it can reverse, and it's gonna be one of those quick hit down on the reversal. You can see these quick hit downs, smack downs is what I call them. It's going to be, these smackdowns are wicked, and if you try to time or try to chase the recovery, you're gonna get into what I would say potential smackdown, and you're gonna feel the pain, and I do not want to feel that pain, so I am gonna have the discipline to wait. The ideal scenario, a gap up, small little wiggle, and then a fail and a flush, some type of a flush condition where the VIX, obviously the VIX is showing strength now, and here is where you're gonna say, well, this is different, right? The initial hit, that's obvious. Yeah, we knew this was gonna be hit. Well, I mean, in hindsight, we knew it was gonna be hit because it fell. Like I said, 7 out of the last 8 times we got that hit, and then now we got that recovery. But that previous data sets or events, the recovery was also hit. The hit didn't occur. So now we are at a point where it does look fairly different. So we may be in this type of different scenario. These are different scenario where I feel like it's going to actually try to hit one more time. I don't think it's going to hit the top here, but I'm hoping above 25, 26, 27, anywhere above here. That would be somewhere that mark the fear, and where maybe Amazon, the QQQ and the likes, they're gonna get flush all the way down. So where can Amazon get to? Can it actually get to 3200? Most likely no. Anything is possible. Of course, there's no reason it has these huge candle down before. These huge candle down has occurred before, where it's practically 100 points. So yes, you can get 87 points to the downside tomorrow in the morning. You can, at least before the afternoon session. So yes, you can get down to maybe, if not 3200, where the 50% Fibonacci, like 3210, 3205, and that I think will align up with this 50-day moving average. Yes, so the 50-week moving average is lining up at 3200. So potentially the weekly candle can line up, and you've seen previous before where the weekly candle has lined up and a slight little bounce, right? If you look at closely here, you do see a little bounce on the 50. So it may be one of those cases where it gets down to, the 50% or closer. Remember, the further down this is, the further this data point is going to drop down. So right now, you say this 50 is above the 3200, but as this value goes down, this blue line will also get down, so that yes, it most likely will, or I'm not going to say most likely, but a very likely possibility of touching the 50%, the 50-week moving average, which is also the 50% Fibonacci, and then bouncing slightly, or a good bounce for the afternoon. And so a good bounce would make a lot of sense, right? A good bounce would be all the way back up to, if it does get all the way down, a good bounce would be up to, this range right here, 32.85, maybe even back to, man, that's a huge bounce. So, yeah, 32.75. Anywhere here would be a good bounce if you have a total collapse tomorrow. I think the QQQ showing very similar signature, I would say. Let's go ahead and just take a look at it. Yes, it's at the 100, ending at the low. So nothing to write home about. I mean, it's there. All these index are gonna show similar signature, because when they collapse, like they are during the sell-off, they're gonna show data that is very similar for across the board, except for Tesla. Tesla has been strong, so I wouldn't mind. I think Tesla potentially, on the sell-off tomorrow. Hopefully they will hit this guy. Now, there was a couple of times where I was considering playing the 15-minute today, because I had mentioned that I missed out on this 15-minute on, this was on Tuesday. I missed this 15 minutes because I just wasn't there to see it. Now I did see this 15 minutes, but like, I do not play it on the second touch. So this is the first touch of the 15-minute, this is the second touch, and this is the third touch. Most definitely I would not play it. Of course, or play for the bounce. Of course it did bounce, and here again. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests of the 15. So, man, this is not looking good. 5 tests of the 15, down in the 15. This may actually be a chance of going to, I guess, to the 60 would be the next level. I don't think it's going to go down to the 760, because Tesla has been so strong recently. I think most likely, man, I don't know if I really want to play Tesla, especially for option expiration. What I might do is, if there's a really big flush, I might consider buying it somewhere down here, as far as buying the call, buying the bounce, the dead cat bounce, or whatever you want to call it, the reversal. Let's take a look at Apple. So Apple, of course, very similar to the Nasdaq. It's at a key level, it's similar to the SPY. It's looking negative, ending low of day. Anytime you end low of day, it's gonna be negative. Uh, the Google is, of course, also ended low of day. Uh, this is also negative. Now, I got lucky to get out of this Google that I somewhere here, yes, right here, I sold the put option, and so I was able to get out of that put option in the morning for a $200 gain. Very lucky, because you can see it reverse, and here this bounce is reverse. Now, if you do play within this, data set, you can be very profitable. Unfortunately, if you time it incorrectly, you won't be able to get out flatline. And of course, ending low of day would mean that you'll be at the negative, they're probably just as negative as this, because the time value from here to here isn't enough for you to make any money. And if you bought the options, Obviously, if you bought the call option, it's going to be a lot lower. You'd probably be down 25% if you time it incorrectly on any of this bounce. And now you're sitting at the low. So book 'em, of course. Let's take a look at that. Um, and it did bounce. It did go below the 60, found itself on the 60, and now it's below the 60. So this 60-minute trend line is so critical as far as how to read the technical. I'm telling you, I mean, the fact that it failed to touch the 15, if you were here, you say it's got to touch the 15. It doesn't have to do anything. And of course, it failed. Once it failed, boom. Now is this bullish or bearish? I'm not 100% sure because this is still peak to peak, and peak to peak can continue to go down, right? It continue to go down. I would say I would like a huge, when you get this huge input function, a lot of time you see, the big wave one way, the big wave the other way before it starts to settle. So if anything, you may consider a bounce at the 50-day moving average, which is at this range. It can easily get to the 100-day moving average. It won't be a straight line down, but it'll play around, and if you get it wrong at any time during this playing along, and as long as where you can't get out and you don't want to hold the loss, it may give you more loss as it gets down to this 100 day moving average. That may, I don't know if it's going to get to the 100. It may get to the 50 instead. It may not even get to the 50. This 20-day moving average might be sufficient. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to tell you exactly what's going to happen. I'm here to read the technical and to tell you a potential situation. And knowing that you got options or opportunities, candidates, in every one of these charts, you don't have to make yourself be addicted to one instrument like Tesla or Amazon. Now I do consistently play Amazon because I am quite profitable in it, but there are times where I just can't determine which way to go, so I will play something like a Shopify, right? And so Shopify did show a bounce. Now this is a rare bounce. Now I think there's gotta be news to, because to me, not touching the 61.8, which is right here, that is kind of weird in my opinion. So there might have been news that made it where it didn't get to the 61.8. Who know? But of course, during the market sell-off, it's still up 10, 11 points today, considering how bad the sell-off in the high tech, Amazon and Google. Shopify did fairly well for itself. I'm not convinced actually that this is where it's gonna bounce. I may get it if it gets to the 61.8. Obviously, I probably won't wait for it to get to the 200, but it can get to the 200. So if you time it at the 61.8 and it goes to the 200, well, you're gonna be carrying the loss. That's obvious. MicroStrategy is Bitcoin, so it's a bounce off of the 200. Interesting. I don't know if I mean, this is still, this candle is negative actually, because the high of the day is on the first candle and now it's toward the low, so it's probably gonna go below the 200-day moving average. Modern mRNA, yeah, I would say this is neutral. I mean, I don't like to play the neutral unless it's somewhere in these 60-minute trend line, right? At this point, it's not with the 60-minute trend line, so I would not be playing the straddle, even if it looks like a potential straddle, right? Tomorrow, Monday, it may stay around this data range, this new data set before the 60 actually catch up with it. Regardless, I will not be playing the straddle, meaning I will not be selling the straddle because potentially can break out and go up to this level, or break down and just completely collapse to the next one. So playing the straddle isn't the right strategy until, of course, you got data to support playing the strategy. I don't know what to say about Facebook. It also looks negative right now. And Netflix, of course, is, wow, it's really positive actually. I'm not gonna touch that. I don't think there's any. Let me see what happened to Baba. This guy is, of course, dead in the water. Nothing interesting. So the 60-minute trend line across the board looks to be negative, except the VIX going the opposite way across the board. This is all negative. So let's just end the video here.